Hello, everybody, and welcome to Lunch and Learn today. My name is Jeremy Lewinowitz. I will be leading our call today and happy to discuss anything that we need to, any questions or anything that we may have to look at for today on Lunch and Learn. I'm going to give it a couple minutes, let some people start joining in. But if you are just joining in, if you have any questions, please feel free to type them up in the Q&A, and I'd be happy to take a closer look at them. But in the meantime, we can go ahead and go over some of the usual opening things that we do, and then we can get started shortly after that. Right. So a couple things that I'd just like to highlight always before we get started and jump into any questions, and as well as giving anyone time to type up any questions they have in the Q&A. Um, got a couple things that I'd just like to highlight. First of all, we have our YouTube channel. So if you're curious about checking out our YouTube channel and any details, we got a lot of great things up there. It's where we post all of our lunch and learns, as well as other different types of video content as we make new content and plan for different things um, to show off and show things in decisions. Very recently, we've got a few different things up there. We put up an external truth tables video. So if you've never used external truth tables and you're curious about that, we've got a video up for that. That just went up yesterday, I believe. Um, so things like that, if you're just curious, definitely go and check those things out. We've got our solutions marketplace, another great place to check out if you're curious. It's marketplace.decisions.com. There's a lot of great things there too if you're curious about if there's anything that you wanted to try out or anything like that. We've got a bunch of different applications worth checking out and seeing if they have anything useful for you. So if you're curious about some different applications and you want to try installing some things, you can check out our solution marketplace. Last but not least is our events. And so our events is another great place where you can check out any upcoming events. So it's decisions.com/events. And there's a lot of great things in there if you're curious about any upcoming events and things. So I'll actually switch my screen share so I can go to um, decisions, and I'll even show you what we have coming up soon when I do that. So if you haven't seen anything coming up recently, we actually have a few webinars actually. So we have our bi-weekly product roadmap. So we've been kind of highlighting that every time we point out these. So if you haven't seen that already, you can check that out. But we also have a couple other webinars coming up as well. So an AI agents focus the future and future of software execution. So if you want to see how you can manage AI agents and things, there's a webinar for that. And then we also have another one where we have the supermarket Foster's is actually going to highlight how they use decisions. So um, if you're curious about either of those things, you can register. I don't know if it's explicitly says when. Oh, here we go. 26th, June 26th and July 24th. So if you're interested in one of those, you can check out and register for those webinars. So one of them is coming up somewhat soon. The other one's not until next month, but register there if you're curious. That's decisions.com/events. Okay, let's jump into questions. We have one question in the chat, so I will start with that. And again, if anyone has anything else, feel free to add and we can talk about those things as well. So Helmut, I will let you talk if you have anything to add, but let me read your question out loud. I have an assignment task step in a flow. When I open the form that is assigned to me and click the X on the top right, it completes the form instead of allowing the user to return to it. Is there a configuration to set this behavior or prevent it?
Hey, I noticed this behavior really when my outputs for the assignment step weren't kind of, I just kind of connected them all to the end step, right? So I don't know if this is behavior that you're expecting or that you would know about, but pretty self-explanatory, I think. Because I'd like a situation where, if somebody actions the task and then they decide, oh, actually I'm not ready to make a decision, and then they click the X at the top right, that that assignment stays active, and it only completes itself when one of the two proper paths
Buttons at
is
the bottom.
used. Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. I didn't think that it would actually complete. So that's interesting to me. Um, what kinds of things do you have in here? I just want to put just some dummy data in here. I want to make it at least somewhat close to what you have. Does it just like grant like text boxes and things, or is it more complex? Add the task here. I don't know if you lost your connection to your speaker or what. Oh, it just left. Might be trying to rejoin. Allowed to talk.
I keep getting disconnected for some reason. Is that on not nothing on y'all's end, huh?
Not that I'm aware of.
Huh. Okay. Well,
I just noticed that it suddenly said that I needed to add you as a like give you the ability to talk again, and when I did, it didn't have a microphone by you.
yeah, it just disconnected me twice, so I don't know what the deal is, but sorry about that.
Nope, no worries.
So I just did one. Let me test it on my end here. Oh, okay. Sorry. I don't want to waste your time. It looks like it is not behaving that way anymore. Apologies.
No, it's okay. I was gonna say I've never seen it. I usually anytime I do that, it doesn't actually stop the form for me. So that's why I
Okay,
was
maybe
a
I
little
was like
confused.
debugging or something, and I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe. Okay. Well, I have other questions if there are none other ones,
So
but
yeah, so
definitely
far you're
see.
the only question. So
Oh, sweet. Okay, so then I have an easier one for you.
okay.
So I have an application that takes FEE data structures, through a process. So there's a process folder and stuff. And I basically want to have certain user actions be available during certain states. So I think that's possible in decisions. I just wanted to see how you would do it.
Yes.
I definitely thought about, okay, I could just like, on triggering of the user action, I could read the state and then see if that's, the correct state and do it like that. But I was hoping that maybe, um, you know, it just doesn't show the user action when it's in certain states.
Well, so as long as you have like here I have these two states
Hmm.
in what I have. As long as I create my user action under one state, it'll only be viewable in that particular state.
Oh, okay, so
Um,
mine is not that does not look like that. I don't have this this view here, but is there any way to like configure
in your
user actions
configuration
to
folder.
be? So yeah, mine just kind of shows like the user actions and whatnot. Oh, is that the case editor though? Let me look at that. In the configuration folder.
Hmm. You said
I
flow
see,
execution extension, didn't you?
yeah. So I see like a state editor.
Got it.
It's a little different, but um,
I don't know if I have a flow execution extension in here.
Yeah, they're not
I'm
available
assuming,
on, they're
yeah,
not
no, I'm
available
assuming
on,
this is like one that you had for an old version and you've upgraded it, or are you still on an older version?
yeah, we're on 822 still, so
Okay, give me a second then.
no, you're good.
Let me see if I can grab a version 8 container. Been a little while since I've used flow execution extensions since they have been removed.
Yeah, no problem. No problem.
Ooh, that's not an integer. There we go. Configuration folder. Yeah, that's right. However, you might be able to make, I wonder if you can find state value in this somehow. Um, So you could do, if you didn't see what I did, since flow execution extensions don't have like the same state tracking process
Right.
that they do like case entities where they just automatically have states that I can add in here. They still do have it, and so you can make action visibility rules. So
Mm-hmm.
these will filter out any actions that you have. So especially since you said you're talking about having some kind of user action, you can use an action visibility rule, and basically is you write this, and as long as this returns true, it'll remove that action. So you could probably do something like commonly people would do like action name. So action name equals, and then whatever the name of your user action is,
Mm-hmm.
user action, whatever, there, and then probably add an additional condition or more, depending on how much you want to, and see if you can find the data about like the actual stuff in here.
Right.
So there's like the entity folder has a state value. Um, so you
Right,
can
which is
grab the
what
state
that's
there,
what I would read, yeah.
right? And then you can say, okay, as long as the user action is this and the state equals this, you can filter it out.
Ah, okay.
And
All
then
right.
you can switch those to not if it works backwards than what you're expecting.
Yeah,
Um,
no, that's
but,
perfect actually.
right, like you wanted to only put something in that could only have something that can be used in the completed state, then you can write something like this. And then if throw in a not there if it's working the opposite of what you're hoping,
Yeah.
just switch them and then it should work.
Oh, that's good. Now I think I can use that.
All right, perfect.
I have one last question if there's nothing,
Sure.
nobody else.
Yep.
Yeah.
Still no other questions so far.
So I have a form with quite a few active form flows. And one thing I've been curious about is there really any ability to order the active form flows beyond the triggers that you can set them to? Because sometimes, I don't know, I've found instances where maybe I have two active form flows that are triggering off the same thing, but I kind of want them to do one then the other, or you know what I mean?
Right.
I mean, I don't see anything on there that would indicate any kind of like ordering. Um, but I just thought I'd ask in case there was something I didn't know about.
I don't think so. I feel like I remember someone asked about this recently, and the answer was that there is not a solution for this at the moment.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I don't think there's any like direct way to order these. Um, so yeah, unfortunately, I think you just have to do
Work
like
around it.
build them out.
Yeah. No
I've never
problem.
messed with any of the other options to see.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
except for outcome paths and data for those. But yeah, I don't think you can actually change the order that they appear in. Yeah, so if something were to happen at the same time,
Right.
um,
Make it override information or yeah.
yeah,
Okay. Yeah, no problem. That's kind of what I thought the answer would be, but that's not a problem.
yeah, for that point, I think it would just have to be working around that or trying to, if things happen at the same time, seeing if you can make those in the same active form flow potentially. If
Yeah,
you
and
find potential to
that's
do
what I've
that,
done. Yeah.
that way you
Yeah.
can at least put those steps in that direct order.
Right.
You can make sure whatever you want to happen first happens first.
Okay. Thanks, man.
No problem. All right. Any other questions from anyone else in chat today? It's a pretty small lunch and learn group, so if we don't have anything else, we can end it a little early today. But I'll give it a minute in case anyone wants to speak up or share. Maybe while I give it a minute, see if anyone has anything, I can quickly highlight external truth table stuff that's from the video that recently went out, in case anyone's curious about that. Um, so if you've never worked with external truth tables is a really neat way of allowing you to populate a truth table with a lot of different information, but make the truth table not require a lot of manual input. So if you've ever built a truth table in Decisions, if I just create one really quick, there's a lot of manual input required, and very large truth tables are going to require a lot of input. So you can set up your data elements, which is the rule that you want to assess. I'm just going to grab um, this real quick just for demonstrations purposes. But let's say I want to check if this email equals something, and then I can choose what I want it to output, and then I have to manually add every single row if I want to check these things. So I could check if it's like myself, if it's Gregory, if it's Jared, and so on and so forth. If I'm trying to build this, this out, and if I have like a bunch of different possible emails or a bunch of different rows that need to be filled out. Or in some cases, I may have multiple columns for inputs and multiple columns for outputs. And as I try to build this out, it's going to get more and more complex the bigger my truth table gets. So it becomes a little bit tough to manage, especially for really large ones. But there are external truth tables, which is a really cool way to be able to create your truth table without having to um, manually input all of the rows that need to be associated with each column. You can actually get all of those rows and things to be sourced by some other entity that you've created somewhere. That can be an external source, so something from an external database. That could be even something that is inside your decision server. So any data type that you've created that you can report on as a data source, you could use that. External doesn't necessarily mean that it has to be external to Decisions. An external truth table means it's external to the truth table designer. Itself, something else like that. You can also populate your information with a CSV. And so the external truth tables are really neat because you can easily just grab this information from something else. So for my example here, I actually just created my own data structure that is just called user example that has like email address, first and last names in it. And so you build this report that gets attached to the truth table. You add the data source that you're trying to pull from, you add whatever data fields are required, and then you make the data fields names match the headers that you've created on your truth table. So the only configuration you need to do is add your whatever your fields are that you want as the columns in your truth table for inputs and outputs. So I can add as many of these as I need to get to my desired goal of how my truth table is going to look, but I don't have to fill in all the extra details. So I make all of my headers exactly whatever they are, and then I open up this data source, and then I just need to make sure that I have data fields that match all of those names. So that first header for the input was email address equals, and this matches. Then name, then last name. And since all of these match, then all the details and information that's in my report gets placed where it belongs in my truth table. And so now when I run my truth table, I can easily grab all of the data that I need. So it can read the email address, and whatever it equals, it can output the name of the person that corresponds with that email address in this particular use case. And so you can do that. And then if I were to edit that data structure and add new names or remove names from that data structure, then these names will get added into my truth table or removed from my truth table correspondingly. So whatever ways that I add or remove things, they'll also get added or removed here. And so it allows this truth table's data itself to be pretty dynamic. It makes it more scalable, so I don't have to worry about constantly needing to come in and add or remove and change things. So if you have a situation where the data in your truth table changes fairly frequently, um, or you have enough, like a ton of stuff in your truth table that would make it very difficult to build or very difficult to even maintain, even if it is like an infrequent maintenance, then a external truth table is a great way to get that. Because anything that you can report on in decisions, you can easily use to source this report and then get all of your data. So again, I grabbed a data type that I created in decisions for this example, but that could be an external database where you're getting that data from. That can also be coming from that can also come from a CSV. There's actually a CSV data source in here. If I just remove this real quick and I type CSV, there's a CSV and Excel data source that you can actually just upload a CSV or Excel file into this and use that to generate your data fields and all their data that you want in there. So external truth tables are a really cool and powerful tool to populate truth tables and build out a truth table that's a little bit easier to maintain and manage, and also is very useful uh, with lots and lots of data. So um, as I mentioned, we have a YouTube video that just recently went up that highlights that in more detail and walks through a couple examples and actually builds it from scratch so you can see a little bit more about it if you're curious. So definitely check that out if you want to learn more about external truth tables. Is there an easy way to check what was exactly changed in a database stored entity? Um, Depends. It kind of depends maybe on like what exactly you're trying to track and um what kind of data you're looking for. I know in decisions there are a lot of like modified on things. You can kind of see when it was modified, but you'd have to, I guess, look at past information to tell. I know in a lot of our case entities and things, um, if you are really looking at the main reason that these are actually used is for auditing information. If you have anything with a configuration folder actually has entity event flows that you can use to track whenever something of that entity um, saves or deletes things, you can actually create a flow that will run before or after that data gets saved or deleted. So this is probably the best way to do it, and from my knowledge, is the main way that people use to audit any information that they're trying to like actually save. So then you could do before a save or even after it, either one is would probably achieve that result. But before it or after it, have this flow track what exactly is being changed or being saved in that update, and then send that data somewhere or write that data somewhere else. send an email notification saying that XYZ was changed in this or updated in this particular instance, or a brand new entry was added with this information and something like that. I think that's the main way that you would really try to do that if you have one of these types. Otherwise, I'm not 100% sure if there's an easy way to see the exact updates without like manually adding something. I guess another thing I would think of is if you're just using like your classic CRUD actions somewhere in a process with whatever we have. So like if I go down and open up, like I know if I guess case entities and stuff, I can use that with the configuration folder easily. But like a database entry, if I'm using a selective update step and I have a flow that does that selective update to see what changes in the database, you could probably just build your own version of that afterwards or right before it to like mark which item itself was changed, and then again send that data out wherever you want to. If you're writing it newly in like a different location, or just sending a message to someone with those details wherever it is that you're like tracking that, you could probably just do it manually for ones that are a little bit harder to do, or that you don't have the configuration folders. But I think the configuration folder is probably your best bet. All instances of that, though, I think you do have to develop your own way of writing that as opposed to just automatically being able to see it. Hopefully that answers your question enough. If not, I can try to look into it more. Okay. All right. Well, if we don't have any other questions, we can go ahead and close it off there. Just as a note, we will not be having lunch and learn tomorrow, like we normally do, just due to holiday on the United States side of things. So since most of our office will be celebrating that holiday, we will not have lunch and learn. So we will resume lunch and learn regularly on Monday next week. So just keep that in mind. No lunch and learn tomorrow. You can join, but we will not be starting the call. Thank you all for joining today. Thank you for the questions that we've had. We'll go ahead and end it here. I look forward to hearing more questions and seeing everybody next week, and hope everybody has a great rest of their week and a great weekend.